Tania Made. I'm gonna put you a little closer to me. So it's Tiffany, and on today's video I'm making myself a brand new workbench because my other workbench got wet because this tarp has holes in it and I never got around to putting a good sealant on the plywood and on the wood that I put on top. I think it was MDF and plywood mix, I don't know. So it warped, it got all bubbly everywhere, so I'm making a brand new workbench. I usually do a lot of scrap wood. I pick up a lot of pallets, and I also pick up a lot of plywood and stuff that I find around my job or just around other businesses legally. Once it's at the trash, it's anybody's game. So I found this big tabletop that looks like an office tabletop because it has melamine on it on the bottom side. So I measured it out, and I'm gonna do 5 feet by 33 inches. I'm gonna make it a bit of a torsion box so I can have cubbies inside, and it'll also strengthen the top a little better because I do plan on doing dog holes on it and maybe putting some T-tracks on it afterwards. Today I'm just gonna have a basic. I'm gonna do the torsion and I'm gonna put some legs and casters on it, and it should be ready to go for today. Maybe finish it off tomorrow, and yeah. So like I said, the bottom of this is melamine. I'm not gonna do a lot of cubbies for it. I'm gonna do one down the middle. I have some cedar fencing that I have that should do quite well for the bottom of it. Like I said, this is very thick. I want to say it's a good 3/4. No, it's a good inch thick. So doesn't need a whole lot to strengthen it. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4 cubbies. So gonna cut it at the middle and then do 2 lines and then one down the middle so I can have 4 and 4 on either side. And yeah, I'm gonna put you on a time lapse, like I said, and then later on I'll check back in with you and break down what I actually did. Usually when I'm making my workbenches, I don't have any plans, especially for something that's a quick fix like this. I just wing it and then work from there. Alright, so why don't you say bye, Tiffany, and we'll get to working. Okay, so it's my first voiceover, so go easy on me, okay? Alright, so here I am setting up a piece of 2x8 that I'm going to use as the center, like the middle beam that's going to go all through the length of the table. And I have some cedar fencing scraps that I will use for the walls to create the little cubbies. So here I'm marking where I'm going to do pocket holes on this piece of board. I have I think it's Armor Tools auto setting pocket hole jig, and that's what I'm using for creating the pocket holes on this. You can see I'm putting several of them on there. I'm using my Ryobi drill. It's a brushless drill, just if you're curious what my drill was. So here I am putting holes on my drill on the wood, and went to go get the screws that I needed for it, well, according to the setup. Put a couple clamps down to make sure that the wood didn't move on me. And okay, there's where I went to go get the screws. I'm like here trying to open up the box. I'm like, sir, they're childproof. Okay, ready, Tanya? Put the damn screws in the wood. Okay, here we go. So I put the screws in, and I realized that the thickness that I used is not the right one. So the wood is a 2x8, but the melamine board that I have underneath is about an inch thick instead of around 1.5 inches. So clearly the screws don't work. So here I run off to my old workbench where I have my screws, and I'm trying to go and get the proper screws that are gonna work. So here I'm measuring, I'm like, okay, these are the screws that I'm going to need. I fix that onto the rest of the bench. Here I'm cutting another piece of cedar fencing that I have. And you can see I'm putting the pieces of cedar fencing as the cubby holes. I didn't want that many cubbies, it's not that big of a bench, it's a 4 foot by 3 foot. So once again, I put pocket holes on them. I'm putting pocket holes on them right now, and I'm going to attach them to the milling board and the center beam. More pocket holes, more pocket holes. I did a lot of pocket holes on this thing, let me tell you. Okay, so here I'm putting the scrap piece of plywood that I had found off the side of a big trash bin I found outside my job. All of this is wood that I found off the side of the road, like on the side of my job, or just driving around, pick up pallets, pick up whatever wood I can find. So I found this nice piece of plywood. I cut it in half, and luckily it fit for both sides, but there's a small piece that's missing, which I later on cut up and put on there to cover that hole as well. As you can see, the way the middle beam is, it's a lot taller than the rest of it, and that's the way it's gonna sort of assemble into the base. That way it's gonna stay on the base. I can always change the base, or I can always take it off the base and make a different bottom for it, or adjust the bottom to make it higher or lower. And this torsion box is so much easier to move around and so much easier to adjust once it's already set up this way than when you have it drilled into the base. So you can see I'm putting lots and lots of holes, lots and lots of screws to connect this plywood onto the torsion box. For just want it to be very sturdy, very safe. Since I work outside, I'm using these cubbies to put all my drills and all my sander, all the stuff that I have to have on hand. But since I don't have a shop, I don't have anywhere to hang them on. I can't make a wall of like French cleats and set up a bunch of cubbies for everything, because I don't have walls. So I have to I have to do creative ways of being able. See here, I'm cutting up that piece to fit those holes that are missing on the torsion box. So yeah, like I said, just fixing that up, and yeah. Now as you can see here, it's a lot later in the day, and I'm setting up the base for it. Just simple 2x4 base. I'm not using pocket holes on this, because I have these 4-inch, like 3-inch long screws that I'm using for it, because I want this to be very, very sturdy. And I put some casters on this later on in the video. That I think I lost that piece because I forgot that I was recording and didn't keep checking on the camera. Now today, that's earlier in the day, where I eventually put the bottom on it by myself. So workbench is done, as you can see right there. It is a little low. I might have to shimmy it up a little bit, but that was something I was expecting. My other workbench was too high, so I didn't want this bench to be too high. So I figured this would be the easiest way. I could just redo the base or add a couple inches to the base. Like I said, I made this out of scrap wood, so it should be perfectly fine. It's easy to fix, nothing major. And all my workbenches and stuff that I make as shop furniture or shop devices are usually made out of scrap wood, and I rarely glue things together. I usually just use screws because it's easier to take apart and fix and stuff like that. So this bench, I used a big, I think it was like it used to be a conference table maybe or something like that, or like a kitchen shelf or something, because it has melamine on top. And so I picked it specifically for that because my old workbench was MDF on top, and it ended up getting wet and warped because I didn't put a thick enough finish on it. The tarp where all my shop stuff is under has small holes into it because it's sunburned, so it does leak. That's why when it rains I cover all my machines and stuff like that. As you can see, my workshop right now is a hot mess because we had a party, and I had to move all my stuff, so hence why I made a new workbench. Appreciate like using the time that I had, and everything was moved away to have enough space to remake a new one. I'm gonna take my old one apart and salvage whatever wood I can out of that. And yeah, hope you guys liked the video. I do have a bootleg stand that I'm gonna make, and that should be next week's video and stuff like that. And I have a couple projects lined up to for customers, and I'm gonna re-record those for you guys and all that good stuff. So I'm out, and on to the next project.